You are watching CoinDesk Live from Consensus 2024, and we are nearing the end of day one. And as you can probably tell, the energy here at the Austin Convention Center has been electric. Marissa, what's been the highlight of the day for you so far?
I'm going to say selfishly that it was my panel this morning. It's a rare occurrence that you get some of the brightest minds on stage with you all at the same time, and you just get to pick their brains about their domain of expertise, and it's always this learning experience. I think the crowd really kind of took away a lot of interesting nuggets of information, and it's just such a rewarding way to see active, collaborative conversations take place in this industry. I'm a huge fan of seeing that take place.
What was your panel about?
So we actually focused on what happens when we remove cookies from the internet, and how do we use blockchain to sort of fill that data gap. And I mean, I had Forbes, I had Publicis, I had Magic, and I had The Graph on stage with me, and all of them represent different layers of the tech stack. And seeing how all of them are sort of working together to fill that puzzle, I think is fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most interesting problems being worked on in Web3 right now in terms of solving some of those data privacy issues that we've seen throughout Web2. You know, how could we have a completely different experience that is actually better for consumers and marketers through using some of these Web3 tools rather than just old school cookies?
Definitely.
All right, well, let's welcome our next guest, co-founder of Morph and one of the 2023 faces of crypto philanthropy, according to the Giving Block, Azeem Khan.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome. So what's your reaction to Consensus this week? When did you arrive, and what have you seen so far?
I literally got here just now. I got off the plane at 2:30, or my plane landed at 2:30, went straight to the hotel, walked over here to be able to make it in time to not be late for this. So.
Oh my God, wow.
So another guest running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
100%. And coffee. Coffee and adrenaline, yeah.
Same.
Where did you fly in from?
From New York.
Oh, okay. How many? Oh, that's what? 5, 6 hours?
It was just 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, just 4 hours.
Okay, lovely. Well, welcome. I'm so glad that you're able to join us. So you're working on Morph, right? Do you want to just give us, the quick 30-second elevator pitch for anyone who hasn't heard about the project yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to layer 2 in Ethereum, there are many. The flavor that we're going for at the moment is focusing on consumer applications, looking at what's going on in the global south for actual adoption, thinking about things like decentralized science. We've been fortunate in that we raised quite a bit of money recently, but
congratulations.
Thank you. But compared to many of our competitors, we're less capitalized and have had less time in the market. And so looking at niches in the market that others aren't necessarily looking at, while also doing all of the degen things that you need to do in this space.
So talk to me a little bit more about your focus on the global south and why that was a particular domain of interest.
So my family or background is from Pakistan, and it's something just from family back home that I've seen that there's a real need for being able to get US dollars to people. I recently got married, and trying to send money back home to get clothes made was extremely difficult. And then just have friends in different countries where, you look and you see that the need for US dollars and the ability to actually transact is way bigger than a lot of the speculative things that we find ourselves working on and playing in this space. And so there's a company that I admire a lot called M-Pesa, and so Safaricom and Vodafone launched this platform, and to me it's a pre-crypto wallet essentially, where people have been transacting. They pay their electricity bills with this in Kenya, they do daily transactions. And so I think a lot about how if you have mobile money working that way, it's a lot like crypto. And so being able to look at some of those kinds of issues where I'm a JP Morgan banked person. I'm not leaving JP Morgan regardless of the fact that I've been in crypto since 2013 now. It's just not happening. I think the idea of banking the unbanked makes way more sense than unbanking the banked. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, looking at how crypto asset-backed remittances could really be one of the major use cases in terms of widespread adoption was actually one of the things that got me into this space.
Tron has been doing an amazing job, even though people don't really at times give them the credit I think that they deserve, but for being able to use the USDT, they far surpass any other stable coins on the market, but it makes sense, low transaction fees, ease of use, and they've been pushing in other markets. And so being able to look at some of those kinds of things has been been really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So something Leah and I often discuss is the fact that crypto and Web3 have a very different relationship dynamic within emerging economies than we do see out here in the West, whether it's North America or whether it's Europe. And so trying to bridge that gap in understanding between these global markets has always been a bit of a challenge, because I guess the use case for crypto in the case of whether it's remittances, cross-border payments, or just providing access to more stable currencies has always been a tricky problem for people out here to understand, because we have the privilege of having that access. So how do you sort of reconcile that educational or like that learning curve?
For me, a big part of it comes from accepting that, unlike the usual approach of I'm an American, so I know everything, is that I go to markets and say I'm an American, I don't know anything. And so one of the things I've seen in most markets, you can get by without speaking the native language of those places. Latin America is one of the places I've seen where unless you speak Spanish, you're not going to succeed. And so we hired Spanish-speaking native to Argentina DevRels. And so when I'm looking at different areas, what I'm doing is taking the approach of I actually don't know, and I would love for you to tell me how I can unblock or offer resources that would be helpful to the problems that you more intimately know that you're facing.
Got it. Just back to Morph for a sec. I really wanted to get your thoughts on the future of layer 2s. I got to admit, sometimes I feel like there's so many layer 2s right now. Like, do we need another one? I was just wondering your thoughts on that. Like, where are we going with L2s?
I tell everyone all the time, we're one of 200. It must literally be 200 at this point, so I don't take that part too seriously. But when I look at what's gone on, it's something I've been meaning to write about. I think, and it's rich coming from an L2 founder, but L2s feel a lot like the new versions of ICOs, where you can raise money, use Rollup as a service, do a bunch of marketing, get hype going, launch a token, get high FDV, and then you can shadily sell tokens OTC that haven't been unlocked with the market makers that you wouldn't necessarily want to work with. And so when I look at the reality of the space, it's like thinking back to 2017, it feels a lot like ICOs all over again. And so my opinion is that there absolutely are way too many L2s. And what my hope is that over the next 18 to 24 months, unless the bull market just carries tokens because there's speculation and arbitrage to make money on, that we start to see who's actually doing real things to push this forward, and then the other ones die out, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I guess we're sort of just in an early growth phase of the layer 2 movement. So we sort of need it to go through this motion before we see the attrition that we really want to see, before we attain the value out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the things that Base has been doing in recent months is spectacular. I have so much admiration for what Jesse and Brian Armstrong and all of them have been doing. And so they've been showing really what's possible. And I think what we might end up seeing, and it's something I've seen in a lot of travels, is that there's going to be ways to be able to have success regionally or based on countries, and that's the place where I'm interested in how we can go about doing Morph, because I think that it would be silly to think we can just go head to head with Base at the moment in North America, but can we go and take parts of the market in Brazil or Argentina or Nigeria and Kenya and Tanzania? Absolutely. And so for me, it's taking a look at how we go about doing that. And what I imagine will happen will be that there will be certain regions where certain L2s take off, or even the Bitcoin L2 has been something that I've been paying attention to a lot. And so I think it's going to end up being something like that, where we'll see attrition falling off. Some will take, the number one ranking, and then there will be ones that are able to succeed because they're doing well in certain regions.
Really quick question before we go. I noticed you've got a sponsored session tomorrow, which is about crypto and AI. I was just wondering, how does AI play into all of this for you?
Honestly, we're in the really early phases of the research side of things. I'm big on not doing the BS where AI and crypto is the future, and because of that, you should give us $80 million now. I think that's the reality of how it's usually used, and maybe I shouldn't say this since we're probably going to raise another round at some point, and I'm supposed to use AI and crypto in my talking points. But for me, I think that we're at the earliest stages of research and seeing how it would be able to get used. We have some ecosystem players that are looking to start doing that on Morph and building out different tooling that has AI involved. But at this honest moment, I think like anyone who thinks that they know how AI and crypto is going to turn out is just completely making it up.
I mean, I think it's about time that we took a more measured and critically minded approach, bar all the evangelism that we usually use to generate all the hype in every single crypto cycle.
100%. And so I do my best, and maybe my investors and other people would say I shouldn't, but I think we really need honest assessments and then critical feedback from within our own space of what's going on, because we have so many attacks from the outside that I think it's unfair to be upset at those attacks if we're not also already being critical enough of the things that we see. And so one of those things, like the grandiose statements of how this should be $1 trillion thing, it doesn't ring right for me.
Wise words.
Absolutely wise words. And also, you're going to be taking part in a town hall on Friday, which is all about how to do good new ideas for funding social purpose. So if you want to hear more from Azeem, you can check him out there. But thank you so much, Azeem.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
That was Morph co-founder Azeem Khan.